Orange is the new black is where we dive in. Every episode we'll discuss, even the scenes that made us cuss. So follow me, join the spree. I try to space for 2 E's. Spoilers everywhere, so be warned. Super fans, please come on board. Susie's special line and all these ideas because we make it everything truly as it is. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah. Oh, 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 oh.
Hello, and welcome to Yadda Space. I'm Yadda, and I'm so glad you're here. This is a rewatch podcast for the Netflix TV show Orange is the New Black. That means that there may be spoilers about things that happen in the future episodes, so please be warned. This is definitely a spoiler zone. On today's episode of our Orange is the New Black rewatch, we will be discussing Season 2, Episode 6, titled You Also Have Pizza. The IMDb synopsis for this episode says, love is in the air as the inmates prepare for a Valentine's Day party. Red makes an intriguing new discovery, and Larry asks Piper to be his prison mole. Okay. And we also be getting our first backstories from Poussey today as well. Now, this is our first and only episode where we have Allison Anders on as the director and Stephen Falk as the head writer. Stephen has worked with our show's creator, Miss Jenji Cohen, before on the TV show Weeds. And Allison has directed many different projects, including some fan favorites like Sex and the City and The L Word. This is definitely a memorable episode of Orange, so I think it's safe to say that they both did a great job on our show as well. And as I always say, I know there's more than one person in a writer's room, so I'd like to give a shout out to the entire writing team. Thank you all for writing such a great show. You guys told the stories that were not being told, and for that, we thank you. The IMDb rating for this episode is an 8.1, which is pretty solid for an episode of television. But at the end of this pod, I will be giving my personal rating for this episode. And I encourage you guys to go ahead and write your episode ratings in the comments as well so that we can get an idea of what we the people think is actually the rating on this episode. Okay, so let's get into it. So right off the bat, we see that this episode has a different type of a flow to it. When it opens up, the ladies of Litchfield are being interviewed about what love means to them. And so throughout the episode, we'll see many of the Litchfield ladies stepping up to give their idea of what love means to them. And honestly, I kind of like this format because it shines a light on some of the characters that we haven't seen that much from as of yet. And I think it helps to give the audience more of a flavor for their personalities. All these little segments of the ladies answering what love means to them is a really nice and clever way to let all the ladies shine. Because with this huge, big ensemble cast, I'm actually kind of surprised that more characters didn't fall through the cracks. But the way the writers let these characters shine and actually use the talent of these actresses to bring their characters to life, I mean, in my opinion, it's done masterfully. I can't think of many ensemble shows with casts this big where there is such a spread of favorite characters. And even though not one of these characters on this show is perfect, there's someone for everyone to love on this cast, which is great. Aleida describes the butterfly feeling in your stomach and how your cheeks hurt from smiling, you know, bringing up the light and soft sides of love, which is nice to see her in a little bit of a softer light because so far Aleida has been very much rough. Sister Ingalls says very seriously that love is light, it's acceptance, and then she thinks for a second and she's like, and it's fire. So even that little tidbit from Sister Ingalls shows us that even the nun has a little bit of passion to her, you know? Sophia says that love is simply pain, horrible pain, but then her face softens and she says that you want again and again, which sounds very complicated and a little bit sad. But I think it definitely speaks to probably her experiences with love. And then it cuts back to Aleida, who's like, and fucking 24/7, deep dick, can't walk right, fucking. Yeah, that's the Aleida that we know. So it's nice to see that Aleida can have her soft, but also the rough side that we are very familiar with. And the first love question segment ends with Morello, who perfectly says, oh, you know me, I got so much to say about love, as she's sitting there holding the teddy bear that she stole from Christopher's house when she broke in a couple of weeks ago. And although Morello says that she has so much to say about love, her smile quickly fades from her face and she looks almost like a deer stuck in headlights. Like, my girl loves love, she wants love, but I'm really not so sure if she knows what it is, or honestly, if she's ever truly experienced it at this point. And to know Lorna is to know that that's a sad thought. Over in the kitchen, the Latinas are making some Valentine's Day cookies, which is nice that they're allowed to do that. It seems like it was hard for them to get the trimmings and things that they needed for Thanksgiving, so it's surprising but nice that they get to have treats for Valentine's Day. As they're prepping the food, the ladies are talking about their past Valentine's Days with their guys. And so Maritza tells the ladies that guys love Valentine's Day. She's used to being wined and dined and flown out, okay? But Gloria tells her that that's because she looks like Sofia Vergara, but I don't think she looks like Sofia Vergara at all. But she is a pretty girl, so I get the point. Aleida insists that guys hate Valentine's Day because I guess that's her experience, which maybe is a part of the puzzle as to why Aleida is so rough in general. Maria tells the ladies that one year her boyfriend Yadriel got her flowers that he stole from his cousin's funeral, but she thought it was sweet, so I guess. It is the thought that counts, right? Gloria says that Valentine's Day was invented to make people feel like shit if they were not a part of some perfect couple, which Aleida co-signs because of course she would. We also have Blanca here in the kitchen with the ladies, and she tells them that her boyfriend Diablo says that there are no perfect couples, but each couple is perfect in its own way. Which is beautiful and not shocking at all that Diablo is the one who said it. He's a sweetheart, but we'll get to know him as the show goes on. That's when we notice that C.L. Fisher is also in the kitchen with the ladies, and she offers them some kind words, saying it must be hard being locked up on Valentine's Day. And Flocka thanks her for her empathy and offers her a cookie, which she accepts before realizing that the cookie is shaped like a penis. And so she stuffs it in her mouth before Bennett could see because I assume she was embarrassed. But like, why? It's a cookie. There's a whole bunch of them over there on the pan. Like, what is the big deal? We're all adults here. But I do notice that there are heart-shaped cookies as well as dick-shaped cookies. So Flocka could have given her the heart, but she gave her the dick. So I assume that Flocka was being sarcastic when she was saying that Fisher was being empathetic, or maybe a little bit playful. But either way, all the girls are laughing as Bennett and Daya's love theme music starts to play. And he strolls on over to Daya as she asks him where he made reservations for dinner tonight, you know, pretending that they're outside. And Bennett doesn't get it at first, but he eventually catches on and they get all flirty before Aleida comes over and squashes their whole vibe. She asks Daya to go get her another bag of flour and then takes that moment with Bennett alone to pass him a list, telling him, well, here, you want to make the mother-in-law happy, don't you? Aleida is wanting to use Bennett for his prosthetic leg so that he can smuggle things in for her. Bennett just stands there and takes the list, saying nothing. I imagine he must be processing what's happening and trying to figure out what he's going to do about it. Over at the black bathrooms, which are not the black bathrooms, they're actually the Latina bathrooms over in Spanish Harlem due to that deal that V negotiated with Gloria. The deal said that Gloria and the Latinas could have the black bathrooms that worked properly, and the black girls would take the Latinas bathrooms, which are broken and limited to 30-second showers, in exchange for V getting her girls moved to the sanitation crew. For why? We'll find out. So it looks like their solution for getting around the 30-second showers is that they lather up at the sinks and then go rinse in the shower, which looks incredibly uncomfortable and probably very cold. Not fun. Taystee is standing on the shower line with V, complaining about having to leave her library job that she loves to join Custodial, which she does not want to do. But V insists that they are starting something. Taystee tells V that no, she does not want to join Custodial. But that's when V flips on her, saying, do you know how easy it would have been for me to say no to you when you came to me and asked me to save you from your group home, save you from your sick foster father? Which honestly is low down and dirty. Like, why would you bring that up? That is not fair. And Taystee says as much, but V brushes her off. That's when one of the Golden Girls, Jimmy, comes into the bathroom looking for her husband. If you remember a couple of weeks ago, Jimmy is suffering from dementia, and right now she's looking for her husband, Jack. It's Valentine's Day, and she's used to the tradition of him buying her chocolates every year. She's really worried that if her husband can't find her today, then her chocolates will be wasted. And they don't have money to waste like that. They're on a fixed income. Oh, Jimmy. She's not well, and it's really sad to see. All the girls are looking at her with sympathy in their eyes, all except for V, who says, fuck, kill me in my sleep if I ever get like that. Jesus. And so that scene ends with V telling Taystee, you know, take time to think about it, but in the end, you need to go ahead and do what I told you. Join Custodial. Back to the what does love mean to you questions. Next up is Poussey. And she says that love is just chilling, talking, laughing, making stupid jokes, you know? Poussey says that it's like not even wanting to go to sleep because then you might be without them for a minute and you don't want that, which I think is absolutely beautiful and probably one of my favorite descriptions of love from the Litchfield Ladies. Just simple, spending time, laughing, and not wanting to be without the other person. Yup. which leads us into our first Poussey backstory. We are at a joint multinational readiness center in Germany because, as we know, Poussey was an army brat. Her father was in the service, so she moved around a lot and spent some time overseas. We see a younger Poussey, and she's hanging out with a bunch of friends. It looks like they're having a blunt rolling contest with Hey There Delilah by the Plain White T's playing in the background. So that helps to date the scene for us a little bit, putting this around 2005, 2006. Which means that this is almost 10 years prior to real time, because in season 2, we are in 2014 at this point in prison. So of course Poussey won the blunt rolling contest. She rolled it the fastest, and she tells her girlfriend, "You can't beat me, I'm untouchable," in German. And her girlfriend responds in German with, "I think you're very touchable." And they begin to kiss. But that's when some guy walks over saying, "Get a room." To which Poussey says, "German, fool." Poussey tells him that he's part of a community and should respect its language. I agree. I shared that same sentiment with Gloria when she was annoyed with Daya for not speaking Spanish. But this guy says it's not his culture, it's his father's culture. He's just the guy his father drags around whenever our country has to go fight terror somewhere. You know, he's a little bit frustrated and bitter about army brat life. Moving around all the time, it cannot be easy. Poussey says that she moved around a lot too, but her dad promised her that this is the last stop. And she looks absolutely thrilled because she seems to be absolutely head over heels in love with her girlfriend. She's good with settling in Germany, but we'll see how that goes. Back at the prison, we're in the custodial area, and Janae is complaining about having to switch jobs. She's like, "This shit makes electrical look good." Janae says, "I can't believe I let that old bitch talk me into this." But of course, that causes Suzanne to jump to V's defense immediately, in a way that only Suzanne can. She's holding a mop that strangely does look like a face, I guess, if you have an eye for that. It's got 2 little holes and a little spot for like a mouth or a nose, and the mop head is the hair. I totally see it. So Suzanne starts speaking to Janae through this mop, as if the mop is the character speaking. And so the mop says, "Via Suzanne, in an English accent, I wouldn't speak ill of Miss Parker's methods. She wouldn't tolerate such words." But that's when Suzanne responds to the mop, saying that Watson's got the right to express her discomfort for her new job, you know? But the mop responds, again through Suzanne, "Just because cleaning quiets your discombobulation doesn't mean it does so for everyone." To which Suzanne says, "Point well made." And so I have to take this time to shout out the actress who plays Suzanne, Miss Uzo Aduba. I mean, my goodness, Miss Aduba does such a good job playing Suzanne that you forget that she's playing a part. She is Suzanne, okay? She brings this character to life so well, and clearly has such a respect for her character because she takes such care with her. It's easy to make a character like Suzanne out to be absolutely crazy with no redeemable qualities, but she plays Suzanne in such a way where the audience absolutely sympathizes with her, absolutely cares for her, and absolutely sees the humanity in her. She even gives us little wisdom nuggets like this one right here often. So I really enjoy the character of Suzanne and the talents of Uzo Aduba. OMG. She's probably the most talented actress on the show because, like I said, you forget that Suzanne is a character. That is how in it Miss Aduba is. So shout out to you, girl. Another beautiful performance, as there are throughout. I love Suzanne. Can't help it. I love her. I mean, even this interaction is a little wisdom nugget with Suzanne recognizing that just because cleaning helps her doesn't mean it will automatically help everyone. Valid, good point to make. And something that we can keep in mind for many areas of our life, honestly. What works really well for you might not be the thing for the next person. And so that can be without judgment, you know? When Cindy comes in and joins them in Custodial, she asks Suzanne who's going to be her Valentine this year. But Suzanne tells Cindy that this year she's loving someone who deserves her. Herself. And Janae claps it up like, yeah, good for you, girl. Absolutely. I support it. But that's when Suzanne's mop friend Moppet calls her a loser. But Suzanne tells the mop to shut up and tosses it to the floor with a complete straight face. Just great. Great, Suzanne. Over in the visitation room, we see Larry waiting there for Piper, who comes up really awkwardly, smiling, and starts word vomiting nonsense about how it's Florence Henderson's birthday tomorrow, aka Valentine's Day. And she's talking to him about all the different things that she should be doing with him tomorrow for Valentine's Day. But girl, aren't y'all broken up? What are you talking about? Even Larry has to stop her like, "Hey, Piper, first off, hello." And so she takes a breath and is like, "Okay, yeah, hi." Larry tells Piper that he heard about her grandma, but Piper just skips right over that and tells him that when she gets out of here, she wants to come home. like home, to his home with him. And Larry rightfully goes, that's quite the statement, you know? Are you sure about that? And Piper says she's sure, but honestly, she's probably just sure because Alex is not there right now. Out of sight, out of mind. And now Piper is alone and thinking that Larry is her only option. So she's going to go back to her fallback guy, I guess. She looks desperate, but sincere in this moment. But Larry's like, I'm not asking you now. I'm talking about future Piper, free Piper. Will she still want to choose him? He wants her to guarantee that she will, but she can't do that. She tells Larry that future Piper hopes so, but he responds with, well, present Larry can't live on hope, which valid. He can't be made to put his life on hold for a maybe. No, that's not fair. And so that's when Larry starts in about why he's really here. He tells Piper that Andrew Nance, a reporter from the City Post, contacted him to help him write a story about the prison and how they're not allocating funds the right way, how there are buildings that haven't been built and things that haven't been bought. But the way Larry sees it, he's like, why should I help that guy when I can write the article myself? Okay, Larry, poaching ideas. It doesn't seem quite on the up and up, but that's what he wants to do. He tells Piper that he wants to write an article with her help investigating from the inside. But Piper is not feeling it. She's like, Jesus Christ, you're doing it again. Piper tells Larry that he has got to stop being the moon. It doesn't even have its own light. To which Larry says, what, so that makes you the sun? Are you the center of the solar system and I'm just a dead hunk of crap rock? Larry is so annoyed and frustrated. In keeping with the whole space metaphor, he's like, how am I supposed to become my own planet when your shit is still everywhere? Larry is pissed because Piper gets to move on and fuck whoever she wants, Alex or whoever's next, and he feels like he's stuck because he's still living in the apartment that they share together, so her crap is literally everywhere. Piper tells Larry that he can take her stuff to Polly's if it's so in his way, but as you and I know, that won't help because he's over at Polly's too. He doesn't mention that though, conveniently. He just rolls his eyes. Eventually, Larry gets up angrily and tells Piper, at least people can walk on the moon. If anyone gets near the sun, they just burn right up, which, damn. I'm sure that hit Piper like a ton of bricks because while she definitely hurt Larry, I really don't think that was her intention. And the fact that she knows he's hurt and she can see his hurt, it looks like she definitely feels for him and feels bad about what she did, or at least the fact that it hurt him. The cynical side of me also wonders if Piper's sadness has to do with the fact that maybe she's thinking, since Larry's so upset with her, he might not let her stay with him if and when she gets furlough. So maybe her sadness is for herself, that her plan to stay with him has been shot in the foot. Or maybe she genuinely feels bad for the way that she treated Larry. Over in the greenhouse, we see Red talking to her plants, or so it seems. Red is explaining how V told her that she's too old for shenanigans, but Red does not believe that for 1 second. Apparently, whatever V did to Red back in the day is top of mind. Red says people don't change before saying, hurry it up, will you? And we see who she's actually talking to. It's her son, Vasily, down in that drain that Red found below the greenhouse. He's working with his mother and his brother, who's back in the woods, guarding the entrance to this little tunnel, to try to get this tunnel open so they can start moving things in and out of the prison again. But while Vasily is working on that, and Red is trying to talk him through his feelings since his wife has left him, that's when Jimmy comes in, and Red quickly is like, no work today, please leave. Because Red doesn't want Jimmy to know about her son down in the tunnel. But Jimmy's not here for work. She's still looking for her husband, Jack. She tells Red that he said that he would be out there. But Red tells Jimmy that she saw her husband get into a taxi and sends her on her way. Which, knowing where Jimmy ends up, is it partially Red's fault for mentioning the taxi? Is that what got Jimmy off campgrounds? I mean, obviously it's not all Red's fault. Clearly somebody wasn't watching Jimmy until she got off campgrounds. Also, clearly someone wasn't caring for Jimmy and her mental health needs because her dementia is not doing well and no one is watching over her. So there are many factors as to why Jimmy gets out, but we'll get there. Once Jimmy leaves the greenhouse, Vasily is finally able to open up the sewer lid, but as soon as he pops his head up into the greenhouse, Red slaps him across the face. What's with mothers in this show and slapping people? Aleida with Daya? Shoot, Daya with Aleida, and now Red to Vasily? Jeez, a lot of slapping going on. But Red is slapping Vasily because she's like, I'm tired of all your whining. If you want your woman back, go get her. Like, literally, man up. Which, yeah, I guess that's about what I'd expect from Old World Red. Red then tells her son to hand up the shit. You know, the stuff that he smuggled in for her. Apparently, he's got a duffel bag full of stuff for Red to distribute to the ladies. Over in the laundry room, it looks like Nikki and Piper are working on some electrical repair when Piper asks Nikki what she expects to go home to when she gets out of here. And Nikki responds, Fiona Apple in the Criminal video, which my mind immediately goes to absolutely Nikki, Fiona Apple, totally see it. But when I go back and look at the Criminal video, don't love that for her. I hope that's not what it looks like when you get out of here, Nikki. Piper tells Nikki that when she gets out of here, she always thought that she'd be going home to Larry, but now she thinks it might be time to reimagine a different future for herself. Piper is down in the dumps. She says she hates this stupid fucking holiday. According to Piper, she lost her manipulative, gorgeous, psychopath ex, Alex, and her sweet, kind, but unfocused fiance, Larry. Piper says she doesn't have a home anymore. But Nikki insists, sure you do. This shit pile, you're home. Nice try, Nikki. I love the thought. Nikki does tell Piper that Larry's got a point with his little article, though. She says that she's tried to fix this fuse box alone at least 20 times. No one is spending money in this place. So where is the money going? There's definitely a story there. Elsewhere in the prison, Caputo is checking in on Theo Fisher, who finally got a chance to start her phone line project where she listens in on the inmate phone calls, and she's finding out some interesting stuff. Caputo tells Fisher that she's doing a good job, and maybe this will even help him to get Fig off his ass. Caputo says that Fig told him that he needs to impose a shot quota, which he thinks is absolutely ridiculous, and so do I. Those types of quotas can be very dangerous. Fisher tells Caputo that she loves that he stands up to her, which I'm sure he took the wrong way. She's not expressing any kinds of feelings to him. She's just saying that, you know, it's cool that you stand up to her, but he took it as, ooh, I like that you stand up to her, you know? No, guys, it's not like that. But he thinks it is, so he decides to ask Fisher, you know, what's going on with your little boyfriend? Y'all good? Is there an opening here? But apparently they broke up. Fisher says that he wore a lot of vests, which cannot possibly be the only reason why she broke up with him, but apparently it was a factor. And so Caputo sees this as an opportunity to shoot his shot. And so he tells Fisher that he's in a band, which she seems really impressed about. And he looks flattered, but downplays it, saying, it's no big deal. But, you know, we're in town tomorrow night if you want to come by, you know, come see our show. But Fisher tells Caputo she can't because she's working the Valentine's Day party here at the prison. To which Caputo whispers, I'll get you off. And then realizes how that sounds and says, I mean, I'll get you off the schedule. You know, I can get your shift covered. And so Fisher says with bright wide eyes and a big old smile that she really loves music. So that would be awesome. Thanks. And so Caputo turns to walk out, almost giddy, saying, all right, well, then I'll see you there. He's so excited, thinking he's got a chance with this girl. Over in the library, Taystee is being told that she needs to tell Poussey goodbye because it's her last day working in the library. She's moving to Custodial today. And Poussey is shocked. She's like, why would you leave the library? You love it here. But apparently Taystee feels like she owes Vee, which I hate that for her. And I hate even more that Vee uses that against her. Like, why even bother helping somebody if you're just going to use it to manipulate them down the road? Vee disgusts me. Taystee tells Poussey that Vee could probably get her transferred too. But Poussey don't want that. She's like, listen, I know when I got it good. I'm fine right here in the library. Thank you very much. So Taystee heads on over to Custodial, telling Poussey that she'll see her at dinner. That leads us into another Poussey backstory where we see her with her girlfriend here experimenting in the bedroom. They're trying out scissoring and it's not working out. They can't figure it out. And so they lay down for some pillow talk. And Poussey shares with her one of her favorite sayings about love. The one that says, love is not about staring at each other, but staring off in the same direction. But her girlfriend says she does not like that saying about love. She's like, I like to look at you too much for all that. They start kissing and they get into a little bit of foreplay. But just as Poussey is pleasuring her girlfriend and things are really starting to heat up, her girlfriend's father walks in the room, completely kills the mood. Both girls are up trying to cover themselves, and Poussey's girlfriend's father is just standing in the doorway, shocked, like, OMG, what did I just walk in on? Which, as a parent, valid, but also this has got to be a really rough moment for these girls as well. Back at the prison, we see Bennett get through security very nervously because he has the things that Aleida asked for on her little list in his prosthetic leg right now. But he makes it through and is able to give Aleida her things, to which she says, I'm so glad we're family. I'm sure you are, girl. I'm sure you are. When Bennett goes over to Daya to wish her a happy Valentine's Day and play their little normal game where they pretend that they're outside, she's not feeling it. She gets snippy with him, saying that she doesn't want to play this game anymore because they'll never be able to be normal outside, and walks away. So Daya's having a moment where she's either in her feelings or having a moment of clarity, or both, because both of those options can be true. Either way, it left Bennett standing there looking confused. In a blink if you miss it scene, we see Soso walking with an even newer inmate than her. This other girl is in orange, and Soso is explaining to her about how counselors can be a great resource. Except when Soso finds out that the new girl's counselor is Healy, Soso goes, oh. Which of course makes the new girl ask, what's wrong, you know? And Soso says nothing. It's just that she gets the sense that none of the other girls really like him. And just as she's saying that, we see that they were walking past the mailroom. And who's in there? But Mr. Healy. Did he overhear that? Absolutely. He looks really hurt by it. I think that he wants to do right by the women. I think he wants to think that he's helping people. But as we know, he's not great at his job, I guess is the nicest way that I could say it. Even though he might think that he wants to do right by the girls, in action, he often does things that are very harmful to them. So I don't think Soso's assessment is wrong. I think a lot of the girls don't care for him, and for good reason. Over in the multi-purpose room, Yoga Jones is doing yoga with the ladies, and we see Red walk in and slip a little bit of eyeshadow over to DeMarco, who is extremely surprised and thankful. Red then walks over to Boo and gives her some sunflower seeds, to which Boo says, bless you, and gives Red a big hug. Notably, Red does not hug her back. Instead, Red's got her eyes on her next target. Red walks right over to Yoga Jones and hands her some fancy teas, to which Yoga Jones says, well, look who's back. Like, damn. I mean, I know that Red is using these things to manipulate the women into being nice to her again, but also I hate how the women treated Red before and now because Red's able to give them things, they're willing to take her back. It's opportunistic at the very least and not a nice quality in a friend. So I don't think these women are very good friends to Red. And she's not a good friend to them either. They're all playing games, but I guess like Red says, it's for survival. By the time Red gets over to Norma and Gina, she tells them that this angry nonsense has got to stop. Red tells them that they're going to need each other soon. All of them. She's not wrong on that one, but we'll get there. And then she hands Norma a notebook with brand new pencils and Gina some cream for, I guess, her burns. But these two are sticking to their guns. They get up and walk away, saying nothing. Once they leave, Red turns to Nikki, telling her, I'm not kidding. We need to stick together. We're stronger together. To which Nikki says, so you try to buy their love back? Red doesn't respond. She just angrily throws Nikki a bag of Skittles. To which Nikki says, thanks, Red, before walking away, leaving Red all alone once again. Elsewhere in the prison, we see that V is working in commissary with Chang, which I don't remember actually, but then again, I don't watch season 2 often because of V, so maybe that's why. But anyways, it's interesting to see her working here in the commissary, being that she's trying to have all the other Black girls move to Custodial, and she's not even on Custodial? What the hell? But I'm assuming they're going to use Custodial to smuggle things, but we'll get there. But anyways, as V is working in commissary, Poussey comes up to talk to her. But before Poussey can even say anything, V jumps to the conclusion that the reason that Poussey wants to talk to her is because she's mad that V got Taystee transferred to Custodial. And now she's all alone in the library. Except V said it in a very mocking tone that I don't much care for. But V asks Poussey, did I get it? Am I close? Is that why you want to talk? But Poussey says with a dead-ass straight face, no. You left out, if you get her in trouble, I'll kill you. But V almost smiles like, okay, before she asks Poussey, and how would you kill me? But Poussey holds her ground. She's like, listen, I'll figure it out. Poussey goes on to tell V that she knows that Taystee feels like she owes her or something, but as far as she sees it, V is just a bully who uses lost kids for her own shit and then dumps them as soon as the heat comes down. Word. That's all V does. She runs with kids, uses them, and then throws them away or has them killed. R.I.P. RJ. Disgusting woman. Poussey calls her a fucking vampire. Yes, the most accurate statement. Absolutely. But V tries to deflect and starts to tell Poussey some stupid little story about something that happened in her childhood until Poussey cuts her off saying, listen, lady, I don't give a fuck about you and your little stories, okay? But that's when V gets real cold. She gets right in Poussey's face and tells her, Taystee will never love you. Not the way that you want anyways. Poussey looks absolutely devastated, like she's just lost in her feelings, until eventually she cracks a smile and starts laughing, telling Vee that she don't want Taystee like that. She's just looking out for her. That's her friend. And Vee gives her this intense look of like, yeah, okay, if that's what you need to tell yourself to sleep at night. Like she hears the words coming out of Poussey's mouth, but she knows deep down she got to her. And I hate that. As Poussey walks away, you can see in her eyes that, yeah, Vee did get to her. She was just putting on a good face for Vee, trying to look like what Vee said to her didn't affect her, but clearly it did. And the performances in that scene from both actresses were just brilliant. Y'all know I do not like Vee, but the reason I do not like Vee is because Lorraine Toussaint, the actress who plays Vee, kills it. That woman is pure evil. Not Lorraine Toussaint, Vee. Lorraine Toussaint is an amazing actress, and she did amazingly in this scene. Likewise, the actress who plays Poussey, Samira Wiley, does amazingly well throughout the series. So well that her character is probably the most beloved character across the fandom. In my opinion, I think it's almost a tragic tribute to the amazing acting by Samira Wiley that is the reason that her character is the character that goes down the path that it does in the show. I'm not so sure if what happened to Poussey would have had as big of an impact on the fandom as it did had it not been Poussey. Because of how beautifully Samira Wiley played Poussey is why she was unfortunately the best choice for that storyline. Because everybody loves her. And so how do you get everybody to feel the weight of what happens to her? It has to be a character that everybody loves. So shout out to you, Miss Wiley, and thank you for lending your talents to Poussey. She's a beautiful character that I'm glad that we got to know for as long as we did. Back in Germany in Poussey's backstory, we see her smoking at her bedroom window. Her dad knocks on the door and she quickly puts a cigarette out, grabs a textbook, and tells her dad that some soldiers were just smoking outside her window. Poussey's quick on her feet, okay? Her dad doesn't much care about the cigarette smoke though. He's there to tell Poussey that they're about to move back to the States. He's been reassigned. And he apologizes to her, saying he doesn't know why, he doesn't really know what to say. But all Poussey does is cry, because she knows exactly why. But we'll get there. Elsewhere in the prison, Piper is investigating, trying to figure out where the money is going. You know, for the article that Larry is writing. Even though it seemed like she wouldn't help him, it looks like she's looking into it. And so when she opens up the electrical box out by the loading docks, come to find out that thing was installed back in the 80s, okay? It is disgusting and gross in there, even though apparently the budget says that was allegedly replaced last year. Piper's investigating has determined that is a lie. So where did the money go? As Piper's out at the dock investigating the electrical, Mr. Healy comes out to ask her why she's doing all this investigating anyways. Why all the questions? Why all the digging? What's up? And so Piper thinks quick on her feet and tells him that she wants to start a newsletter for the prison. She explains to Mr. Healy that that's why she's been trying to get out of her bubble and get to know this place. It's her home. She tells Mr. Healy that she feels like they should all be communicating more. Inmates, guards, and administration. And Piper ends her pitch with, you know, pending your approval, of course, Mr. Editor-in-Chief. You know, stroking Mr. Healy's ego a little bit. You're in charge, sir. Can we do it, please? But Mr. Healy sees through that part. He says, don't oversell it. And while he doesn't agree, he does ask Piper to show him some sample stories by tomorrow. To which Piper agrees. And so, spoiler alert, the person who's asking the women what love means to them is Piper. It's for an article for the newsletter. But we'll get there. Mr. Healy tells Piper that the girls used to like him. And Piper looks like she doesn't really know how to respond, but he eventually says, you know what, they will again, before she heads back inside. Over in Custodial, we see Taystee telling Vee that she doesn't understand what she's got going on here. Like, what's the plan? But Vee basically tells Taystee that she often doesn't understand her plans, but eventually they're always made clear. And so they start bickering back and forth because Taystee brings up RJ because apparently whatever happened with him, which we'll get to, did not work out. But as they're bickering, Suzanne is in the background, you know, actually taking care of the custodial duties. She's going through the trash and she notices an invitation for Christopher's wedding. Apparently, Lorna brought the invitation back to the prison. Girl, that's evidence. That's not good. But we don't see Suzanne say anything about it. We just see her put it in her pocket. We'll stick a pin in that for now. Meanwhile, Taystee is telling Vee that she's been scrubbing toilets all day defending her, and she doesn't even believe in her anymore. Taystee tells Vee that she doesn't have a plan. She just wants to prove that she can still boss Taystee around. But that's when Vee tells Taystee to open the box. And when she eventually does, it reveals a whole bunch of cleaner containers. But come to find out, there's actually no cleaner in there. Those containers are holding tobacco. That's Vee's game. So back to the What is Love to You interviews, and we're with Flocka and Maritza, as Flocka is describing love as being like getting into a warm chocolate pudding bath. And Maritza looks over at her like, girl, what? But she lets it slide. Flocka continues saying that while you're in that bath, the Smiths are playing. And Maritza rolls her eyes like, oh God, not this again. Because we know in season 1, Maritza was making fun of Flocka's music taste. So again, she rolls her eyes at the thought of playing the Smiths also being in this love equation. Flocka continues and says that there's warm lighting all over and there's like 5 dudes massaging you. And she looks over at Maritza like, anything to add? And Maritza says, well, and you have a pizza. Like, duh. Pizza makes everything better. And Flocka co-signs. She's like, you know what? She's right. You also have a pizza. And that's where we get our episode title. Over in the multi-purpose room, it looks like the Valentine's Day party is underway. We find out from Bennett and Haley that apparently Caputo is not here because he's got his band gig tonight. And Fisher's not here because allegedly it's her time of the month. So I guess that's the excuse they decided on for getting Fisher out of work tonight and over to Joe's show. We'll get there. When Bennett sees Daya across the room, he walks on over to try to make things right for how things went down earlier, but she doesn't want to hear it. She cuts him off and says, take me somewhere. The next thing that we know, they're getting it in. On Caputo's desk, no less. You see his little plants rocking back and forth. My goodness. In another blink if you miss it scene, we see Jimmy, the golden girl suffering from dementia, strolling the halls all by herself. I guess with everybody up at the Valentine's Day party, there's nobody standing guard by this little side door that Jimmy's found. And so she just walks right on out, which really shows how horribly this prison is run. I mean, they're having this party upstairs with limited staff, and some of the staff is off literally fucking around. Meanwhile, there are doors that are not being guarded. That's insane. In the next scene, we see Poussey in the library and she's holding a book that I decided to look up. And I'm glad that I did because, whoa, let me share this with you. Okay, so the book is called Save Me a Seat and its author is Rhea Cohen, which made me say, Cohen, hold up, who is Rhea Cohen? Because our show's creator is Genji Cohen. And come to find out, don't you know Rhea Cohen is Genji's mom? Whoa, that's very cool that she put her mom's book in this show. But also, I think it's very cool that when we see this book, we're seeing it with Poussey. And what is the book about? Friendship. Which, as we know, the friendship of Taystee and Poussey is very important to the core of this show. So the fact that she's reading this book on friendship by the creator of this show, I think that's really cool. Anyways, a little tidbit that I found that I wanted to share with you. But I digress. Back to the show. So Poussey is sitting in the library with the book, Save Me a Seat, when Taystee comes up behind her and starts messing with her ears and kind of like rubbing on her face. I'm sure that Poussey or anybody could misinterpret that as her being a little bit flirty, but she's not. She's just being playful. But it looks like Poussey almost wants to interpret it as flirty. So Taystee sits down and tells Poussey to close her eyes and open her lips. And Poussey's a little hesitant, but she does it, probably anticipating a kiss. And Taystee gets real close up on her, like she's gonna kiss her. But instead, she just puts a tobacco cigarette in Poussey's mouth. Like, girl, don't play with her feelings like that. That's not nice. But this is Taystee's way of letting Poussey know that this was Vee's plan and they about to be paid. But all that cigarette does to Poussey is send her right back into another backstory memory where Poussey was smoking a cigarette. We're back in Germany and Poussey is arguing with her girlfriend in German, telling her that her father cannot fight the reassignment because her father wants them gone. Apparently, it's the girlfriend's dad who's in charge and the girlfriend's dad who's made the reassignment because the girlfriend's dad is clearly pissed about what he found his daughter doing the other night with Poussey. But Poussey's girlfriend is devastated. She wants to go with her, but Poussey, probably in an effort to disconnect from her girlfriend now, rip the Band-Aid off, she tells her that she cannot come. And when her girlfriend tells Poussey that she loves her, Poussey coldly tells her, well, you're just fun to fuck, but that's about it. Girl, I mean, I get what you're doing, but that is harsh. And her girlfriend looks broken. She tells Poussey that she's the love of her life. She goes on to tell her that yesterday she loved her too. So how can she just shut down like this? To which Poussey says, I had a lot of practice. Damn. Yeah, That moving around all the time, building relationships and a life for yourself, and then having to tear it all down must be horrible. Back at the prison, as Daya and Bennett are putting their clothes back on, Daya apologizes for earlier and says that she was just in a mood. And then she hands him a little picture that she drew of them hanging out with their baby and a dog, sitting on the couch watching TV and eating pizza, because you also have a pizza. That's her vision of love. He thinks it's great and gives her a great big kiss. That's when Daya says, "You think that was great, so is this." And then she pulls a red envelope with a Valentine's Day card out of her pocket. The card says, "To my love." On the inside, it says, "Happy Valentine's Day." Then below that in handwriting, all caps, it says, "Happy Valentine's Day, period. Soon, period." Then there's a little dash and it says, "You know who." And Daya calls him out for writing Valentine's with an M instead of Valentines with an N. But that's when Bennett tells her, that's not from him. It's from Mendez. And Daya looks both annoyed and disappointed. Back over at the Valentine's Day party, Piper is asking two of the Golden Girls, Frida and Erica, what love means to them, confirming that it is Piper who's asking that question to everyone. But since they're not interested in answering that question, she decides to get down to what she really wants to know, which is when's the last time they saw plumbing work being done around here. And that Frida answers, telling Piper that it was probably in 2004, 2005, when some inmate apparently broke 3 toilets in 1 week. Jeez. Elsewhere at the Valentine's Day party, a big group of ladies are doing line dancing, which actually looks really fun. The music's not my fave, but a good old line dance can be a good time. So as they're all in a groove, we see Tiffany kind of do-si-doing her way over towards Leanne, but Leanne is not giving her any attention, completely ignoring her. Eventually, Tiffany asks her why. Leanne tells Tiffany, look, you've been lording over this group like some Hillary Clinton dictator, and we want to be a democracy. And Tiffany is so offended, not about the dictator part or anything. She says to Leanne, are you calling me Hillary Clinton? And Leanne says, well, if the pantsuit fits. Stop. Leanne tells Tiffany that on behalf of her, Angie, and their crew, they're done with her. But Tiffany says that's fine because y'all are some sister wife tweaking, Slurpee drinking, 4th grade reading level, daddy on cops, trailer trash nothings. Damn, Tiffany. Tiffany goes on to tell them that they never challenged her anyway. She says if you keep playing tennis with someone worse than you, you ain't never gonna get better. So thank you. But that's when Angie says to Tiffany, you play tennis? Tiffany says, it's a metaphor, you potato with eyes, which, horrible, but also we know where she got that nonsense from. First of all, good for you, Tiffany. That is a metaphor. You did a nice job with that. But also, why are you insulting Angie the same way people insult you? That's not nice. But Tiffany tops it off by saying, and pardon my French, but you can eat my shit, and calls them all whores before she walks away. Clearly still hurt by their rejection, which I don't love for her, but I also don't love the tirade that she just went on. I know it's a defense mechanism, but it's not a great one. After Tiffany walks away, Leanne postures as if she's the new leader of their group and tells Angie to go get her some punch. And she has this like mean girl look in her eyes, like, yep, I'm the head bitch now. You know, like she's proud of rejecting Pennsatucky and claiming this spot. Don't love that. Elsewhere at the party, we see Flocka and Maritza approaching Bennett because they want Bennett to start bringing in stuff for them as well, you know, in exchange for their silence. And so they shake him down. Flocka wants an iPod shuffle loaded up with all of her favorite music. Maritza just wants a fluoride rinse for her teeth and Yoo-hoo, which feels like that might be counterproductive to the fluoride, but okay. And Blanca asks for a cell phone with a camera. Bennett does not agree, but he does not say no either. And they just walk away as he gets deeper and deeper into this mess that he's made for himself. Over at a bar across town, Caputo's excited to see that C.O. Fisher made it to his show. He tells her that he reserved a chair for her at the bar right up front and center. But she tells him that she actually needs a table because she invited some people from work to join her. And in walk C.O.'s Belle and O'Neill. They're fussing because apparently O'Neill won't move in with Belle. But Caputo says this is nice. It's like a double date. But O'Neill and Belle quickly say in unison, we're not together. Which, interesting. I guess they're having a moment. But that's when C.O. Fisher says, actually, they're going to need another chair. And who walks into the bar? But Luschek, who immediately makes fun of Caputo's clothes. But Caputo gives up and gives Luschek his seat, looking pretty disappointed, like, well, damn, I thought this was an us thing, but apparently this is a group hang, and I'm not even included. Well, damn. Caputo goes and takes off the reserve sign on the chair that he had waiting for Fisher when he looks over and sees her giggling with Luschek, which I'm sure did not feel good. Back at the prison, we're with Suzanne and her response to Piper's question about what love is. Suzanne says it's like you become more you, which normally can be kind of crazy, but when you're in love, it's okay because the person that you love chose to take all of that on. Whatever's wrong or bad or hiding in you, suddenly it's all right. And you don't feel like such a freak anymore, which I absolutely love. I think that's a beautiful thought about what love is. At the same time that Suzanne is describing what love means to her, we see Larry entering a building carrying a bunch of stuff. I'm assuming Piper's stuff that he's taking over to Polly's. But when the lobby elevator opens up, Polly gets out. And Larry drops Piper's stuff, says, "Would the moon do this?" and gives Polly a great big kiss. And she doesn't pull away. She even closes her eyes and gets into it for a hot second. Meanwhile, her husband is on his way down the back stairs, running up behind her, yelling about his hunting trip. Right, her husband. Polly's a married woman out here in the lobby of her building, kissing her best friend's ex-fiance. Polly's a horrible friend. Sorry, but she is. And she's also a horrible wife, because what are you doing? Your husband is literally right here. When Polly's husband, Pete, sees Larry, he's literally like, "Hey man, what's up? You want to come out to dinner with us? I know it's Valentine's Day, but come on, let's go." Completely oblivious to the fact that this man just kissed his wife. And the whole time, Polly is just standing there like a deer in headlights, probably still processing what just happened. Like, whoa, what the hell? Back at the prison Valentine's Day party, the girls are playing pin the cock on the hunk, and we see Morello sitting in the corner just completely zoned out, staring straight ahead with a blank face. But that's when Suzanne comes up to her, telling her that she found Christopher's invitation in her trash. And Morello just takes it and hides it under her shirt real quick, like she's being slick, but she totally was not. That was very obvious. But Suzanne's put two and two together. She knows that this is Morello's Christopher, the Christopher that she's been saying that she's about to marry. And come to find out, Suzanne has some empathy for Morello here. She tells her, "I know something about loving people who aren't smart enough to want to be loved back." Suzanne tells Morello that what she's learned is that those people don't deserve her love. That's when Morello tells Suzanne, "He's ruined this day for me forever." Which up until this very moment, I don't know if I put two and two together that this is the Valentine's Day that he got married on. Christopher is getting married today. So that is probably why Morello is so out of it today. I even saw her earlier at the party just like downing a pan of macaroni and cheese with a giant ass spoon. So yeah, our girl is going through it, and I guess for good reason. It's a tough day for her. Morello tells Suzanne that nobody around here knows that her and Christopher are not together. And Suzanne says, "Yeah, but you do." And then they both start to laugh as Morello says, I do know. So here we have Morello acknowledging that she recognizes that they're not together. She knows. She's not so far gone that she truly believes her delusion. It seems like most times she just would rather live in her fantasy. Morello tells Suzanne that even after all that's happened, she still believes in love, which she thinks is kind of sad. But Suzanne thinks it's brave. And I agree. To love again after you've been so hurt is brave. Again, I say Suzanne is very wise. Morello thanks Suzanne and gives her a hug that it looks like they both really needed. Meanwhile, over in the kitchen, Flocka and Maritza are all giggly while they're drinking hooch. That is, until Flocka gets upset that her boyfriend didn't make it to visit today. Maritza tells her that it feels like they're wasting the best years of their lives in here. She feels like their bodies are the best that they're ever going to look, and she doesn't have anybody looking at hers. Nobody kissing her lips or anything. And so that's when Flocka tells her, "Well, I'll kiss your dumb lips." And she pulls her in for a little kiss because, again, they've been drinking that hooch. And so they start making out a little bit, but then they both start laughing, saying, "Yeah, no, this is not it. This does not feel right." And so Flocka cries in Maritza's arms instead as Maritza comforts her like a good friend would. Back at the Valentine's Day party, the girls are all dancing, and Taystee's trying to get Poussey to come out and join them. But Poussey is focused on flirting with some girl in the room, a girl that we don't know. And so Poussey tells Taystee, "I don't interrupt you when you're going down on a bunch of spaghetti. Damn, like back up." Which I think is really harsh. Now that we've seen Poussey's backstory, we've seen her do this before. She did something similar with her girlfriend when she had to leave her. And so this must be a defense mechanism that Poussey uses, I guess, to limit getting hurt. Which I don't blame her. I mean, who wants to be hurt? But in an effort to save your own heart, you're hurting somebody's heart that you care about. I can't co-sign that. Poussey tells Taystee, "Why don't you head back on over there with old Erykah Badu? You know, talking about V." To which Taystee says, I'm gonna forget you said that. But Poussey quickly comes back with, I don't give a fuck what you forget or remember, before she walks off. So while we know this is a defense mechanism for Poussey, I don't like it. Which leads us into this episode's last backstory scene for Poussey. We're back in Germany and we see Poussey roll up on her girlfriend and her girlfriend's father. Poussey immediately tells her girlfriend that she should leave because this is between her and her girlfriend's father. But her girlfriend's father is completely ignoring Poussey. He won't even look at her until Poussey literally kicks the table that he's eating on and tells her, hey, we're not leaving. But he blows her off, telling her she needs to talk to the Americans. Like, this is not his problem. But Poussey tells him, no, this is your doing, and you don't get to decide what happens in my life. Poussey tells him that she loves his daughter. But that's when he decides to look Poussey directly in her eyes and tell her, and that is why you're going home. Which I do not love. I hate that for them. Like, how does he not see that his daughter is clearly hurting and the person that stands before him clearly loves his daughter? I truly don't understand why he wouldn't want to see his daughter happy. Not messing around in their house? Sure, that I understand. But happy? Come on, you don't have to send this girl to America. Come on. Once that man told Poussey that that's the reason why she was going home, she told him that she's not going anywhere and proceeds to try to pull a gun on him before her father literally comes up behind her to stop her. And Poussey just cries. You know, she's just desperate. But desperation can be dangerous because she was about to make a really bad choice that wouldn't have helped the situation at all. It would have made things much worse. As Poussey's dad starts to walk away with her, her girlfriend's dad stops him saying, you know, there are programs that can change your daughter's confused predilections, which, are we talking conversion therapy? Because no, absolutely not. And her father says as much, telling basically his boss, thanks, but she's fine. Word. Back at the prison Valentine's Day party, we're with V and Red as they're having a not conversation about their little Cold War, you know. They're not throwing punches, but they both have things brewing. They're getting their ducks in a row. V goes up to Red saying it's a pretty fun party, even though there's no men, booze, real food, or drugs. To which Red says, good thing we're too old for any trouble. Which V laughs off saying, right. Before asking Red how her gardening's going. V knows Red's got something going on in that greenhouse. But Red tells her that once the thaw comes, they'll really get going. So, spring? Red goes on to say that she would ask me to join them, but it looks like she's already got other hobbies, you know, with her girls and that tobacco business that Red does not know about just yet. But V simply says, we gotta have people. They end their little not conversation with Red saying, you know this does not end well. Oh, and it won't, for one of you. But we'll get there. Elsewhere in the party, we see Tiffany feeling really rejected by Leanne and Angie. She's all alone, you know? And so she decides to go outside and get some air. But when she gets out there, Mr. Healy's out there. And so I guess Tiffany figures, why the hell not? And sits down right next to Mr. Healy, who eventually takes his little heart-shaped Valentine's Day cookie and breaks it in half, giving Tiffany the other half, which she takes and then gives Mr. Healy a great big hug. And Healy gives a half-ass attempt to give her a little hug back. So I guess it's nice that they found connection in the oddest of places. Speaking of which, we go back over to the bar where Caputo is playing, and we see C.O. Fisher and Lushek out in the audience being a little flirtatious towards each other, which I guess they're finding a little bit of connection in the oddest of places right now as well. As the camera pans over, though, we see an inmate sitting at the back of the bar. Which inmate? It's Jimmy, the golden girl with dementia. She looks rough. She's got leaves in her hair, dirt on her face, and all over her clothes, like she's literally been running through the woods to get here, which she probably has. I don't know how she made it, but I'm glad she did. When Caputo spots her in the audience, his eyes get so big, like I know I'm not seeing what I think I'm seeing. What the hell is she doing here? And he looks quickly over at the table full of guards who are there because, yeah, they're part of the reason why this has happened. Maybe not them directly, but they're here when some of them probably should be back there. It's not their fault. I'm sure they didn't do the schedule, but whoever scheduled this really messed up, as evidenced by at least one inmate getting out. The episode ends back at the prison with Nikki now turning the question on Chapman, asking her what she believes love is. And Piper says with tears in her eyes that love is like coming home after a long trip, which I assume she's thinking of Larry when she's saying that. I don't know if the tears are happy tears, sad tears, scared tears, maybe all the above. but Piper is not well. She says thanks for asking before we get our orange screen indicating the end of the episode. As a reminder, IMDb rated this episode an 8.1, but let me think about my rating for a moment. Well, first of all, I really liked the different format of having the girls answering questions throughout the episode and getting to see all their different personalities take on the question. I thought that was a fun way to get to know the characters even more, and there were even some little wisdom nuggets in there, which I enjoyed. Team Black Girl Magic was really shining in this episode, from Poussey and Vee's really intense interaction where they're showing off their acting chops like nobody's business, to Suzanne giving her stellar as always performance, and even leaving us, the audience, as well as a few characters in the show with some wisdom nuggets, which I really enjoy. You know, in season 1, Yoga Jones mocked the junkie philosopher, but you know me, I value getting wisdom wherever it's coming from. So if it's from Suzanne and this little mop, I'll take it. I really enjoyed Poussey's backstory. It's one that really sticks out to me. I just like getting to know her more, and I'm always so impressed with the fact that she speaks German so fluently. She's so cultured and loving and a fierce defender of the people that she loves. I also want to take this time to shout out the actress who plays Tiffany, Miss Taryn Manning, because she really does a great job with Tiffany this entire series. But in this particular episode, I really felt for her being left out and rejected by her friends, and then getting that little inkling of kindness from Mr. Healy and how much it meant to her. I thought that was really touching, and I think that Miss Manning played that really well and continues to do a great job with her character. Love Tiffany. And I also like the connection that was made between Morello and Suzanne towards the end there at the party, with the two of them finding common ground when dealing with unrequited love. It's a sad thing to have in common, but it's kind of nice to see them find community in each other. So overall, I think it was a really good episode. It's right up there with some of my favorites from last season, like Bora 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 and the Whack Pack episode, which both got an 8.5 from me. So I think this one is going to be getting an 8.5 as well. Take that, IMDb. But that's just me. Don't forget to comment your favorite lines from the episode and let me know what your personal rating is for this week. Mine again was an 8.5, but what do you think? I would love to hear yours. The next episode we will be rewatching is season 2, episode 7, titled Comic Sans. The IMDb synopsis for that episode says, V starts her inmate-run business, Black Cindy is having issues, Bennett gets blackmailed, and Piper begins her newspaper club. Well, kind of. Bennett's already been getting blackmailed, so I guess he'll be getting more blackmailed. And Piper's beginning a newsletter, not a newspaper, but yes. We will also be getting our first backstories about Black Cindy, aka Cindy, in that episode as well. I can't wait to get into all of that with you guys when we revisit season 2, episode 7, Comic Sans, next time. As always, thanks for hanging with me in Yadda Space. Just so you know, I've been having such a good time chit-chatting with you guys about Orange is the New Black. Self-promotion does not come easy, but I know it's a must to keep the podcast going. Every time you guys listen to the podcast, you like a post, you comment, or you share a post on social media, you're helping this little podcast to grow. And I can't thank you enough for the love and support. If you've been hanging out in Yadda Space for a while now and you're enjoying the Back to Litchfield podcast, please consider leaving the podcast a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. Also, if you're able and want to go the extra mile, please consider checking out our Patreon. And be sure to follow us on your favorite social media apps. Please follow those accounts for bonus content from the show, as well as updates about the podcast. And if ever you're searching for the pod, remember, it's just like the theme song says, Yadda Space with 2 E's. Thanks again for your continued support. It means so, so very much. I'll catch up with y'all next time here at Yadda Space.
Hey, welcome friends to Yadda Space. I'm Yadda here, let's set the pace. This is a rewatch podcast, so let's begin. Orange is the New Black is where we dive in. Taystee's wisdom sets the tone. Poussey's heart feels like home. Nikki's got that quick fire. Morello's love of love lifts us higher. Spoilers everywhere, so be warned. Super fast, please come aboard. Susie's special mind, they'll all these ideas because they think that everything's truly as it is. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah. Oh, 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 oh. baby.